Welcome to this edition of Newsnight. Now, today we'll be speaking matters education, where the gap between the urban and rural schools continues to manifest itself in the results just released recently by UNEB. That's the Uganda Certificate of Education results and the Uganda Primary Education results, or the PLE results, Primary Living Examination results. So, to talk about what's really happening in the sector, the performance vis-a-vis government's projects like the UPE and USE, the old man of the clan, Andrew Mwenda, and also CEO of the Independent magazine. Andrew, very quickly.
And you see, it is late at night, I'm falling asleep at my advanced age.
So it
but
becomes,
I still will find words to say.
I know. Quickly, they just released results. They continue to be an improvement generally, nationally, in the performance. But we have a huge disparity between the urban schools and rural schools. We also have a huge disparity, mostly also between privately owned schools and government schools. Why?
Let me begin with a story I read, an opinion I read in Wednesday Monitor. Today is
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yes.
Leave Wednesday last week, the other Wednesday.
Yes.
It is written by a guy called Silva Mwesugwa. He's the speaker of LC5 in that district in Bukanga,
Yes.
Bukanga district,
Yes.
in Isinjiro. And he was saying, look, I studied in these schools in this county. I went back and said, what can I do? And he decided to organize parents and teachers together on how they can improve performance. No single student in that area had gotten a first grade.
Yes.
Now many students are getting first grades. What I learned from Silva Mwesugu, and I invited him last week, he came to speak to our newsroom. Because the article touched me deeply. Because many Ugandans want to sit here in Kampala and blame Museveni, blame Ministry of Education, speak and complain. For the first time I saw a leader at the local level, guy who went abroad, studied a master's degree, now came to Lake Obama to say, I'm going to work in my community in order to improve its conditions. And the results are already showing, both in health, in infrastructure like water, and now in education.
Yes.
So the lesson you learn, one, is that to improve the performance of rural schools, we don't need the government here to do anything. We don't even need the Ministry of Education to do anything. We need community leaders at the local level to take action, to say parents must be involved. How can parents be involved? Parents can be involved. One, they first need to contribute to
the meals,
the education of their children.
But also the meals.
First of all, to stop President Museveni and RDCs from stopping head teachers and other interested people in local schools, even if they're owned by government, from charging a certain amount of fees. I think that education should be a joint effort. They should say, look, the government has paid fees, but we may need to supplement teachers' salaries. We may need to pay better textbooks. We may need to do many other things, and parents must contribute. Let me tell you another thing. When parents contribute money for the education of their children, they're much more interested in education outcomes. They become more vigilant. They attend PTA meetings, parent-teacher association meetings. They monitor the performance of their children. When the government takes the responsibility of fees 100% away from parents, it disempowers parents and makes them withdraw from monitoring the quality of education that they shouldn't get. When people invest in something, you, Maurice, if I give you a car for free, you are likely to drive it carelessly. If you spent your own money, 50 million, and bought your own car, you are likely to be much more concerned because you sacrifice so much of your own income to invest in that car. And here we are saying, okay, let the government contribute 50%, 30%, 80%, but let parents be involved. That is one. So, the point I was going to make is that we can improve the performance of local schools without arguing about FDC, DP, UPC, NRM, without Message Yoweri Museveni being subjects, without education policy being a subject. And that is what my current hero right now is, that guy called Silva Mujisha, there in Bukanga district, in Isinjiro.
The concern by many of the
place is so remote, people there have not started even eating salt.
That's okay. The concern by the many of civil society leaders and even members of the opposition and critics of our education system is that we decided to go to fully invest in free education with both primary and secondary education. And what happened was that government's commitment is actually not in as much as wanting to succeed in the quality of education, but quantity. That the amount of money government is giving per student per term is about 700 shillings, Andrew.
Yes.
What can you get out of 700 shillings if you're a school?
But actually that argument, first of all, has two elements.
Yes.
One, it is against what I'm trying to say. That part of the problem that is killing
Lies
this
with the
country.
parents.
Hold
I
a
agree.
second.
Yes.
My son,
Yes.
please hold
Yes.
a second, Maurice. Why don't you learn to listen to
All
your
right.
grandfather?
Now I'm listening.
I do not give you birth to your parents for nothing.
Now I'm listening.
Let me tell you this, Maurice. First, what this country needs. Stop complaining. Ugandans, stop complaining. The destiny of this country is not in the hands of Museveni alone. It's not in the hands of the Minister of Education alone, Alupo. It's not in the hands of anybody. It is in the hands of each one of us. This morning when I was coming, I arrested a UPDF soldier, another UPDF soldier, trying to overtake. I'm an ordinary citizen. But I'm saying, no. If you're UPDF, don't violate the rules. I am challenging each one of you watching this show. Go to your community, go to your school and say, what can you, like Kennedy said, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. People are, the biggest problem I've discovered in this country is everybody is complaining. Assuming you, Morris, and other people who come from Kisoro, sat in Kisoro in your village and said, what can we do for our local school?
And we're already doing that.
You will be amazed at the performance you'll get. Let me give you an example of the statistics. In 2008, the kids who sat P7 in 2014 joined P1 in 2008. They registered 1.95 million, close to 2 million kids who registered. Only 600,000 sat P7. What happened to 70%? Two-thirds of the students,
they dropped out.
Why did they drop out?
Several reasons. And one of the biggest concerns is that most of the dropouts are girls because they do not have the basic, drop out? Needs like sanitary towels.
So do they want the government of Uganda to be buying sanitary pads?
No.
For the sanitary towels for the girls?
Yes, we may need a joint effort where you have sensitization, because some of the things that the parents may not even have is information that they may need to provide certain things for their children.
I have been traveling around this country. Yes. I started in 2011 when I was a consultant for the World Bank, and since then I learned a lot. I've been traveling around. I was going to my home village. People used to clear the road, build drainage. I reached there. Yes. The reeds were falling into the road I was passing through as if I was entering a bird's nest. I reached there. I asked my mother, who on Monday last week on Monday turned 8 years. I asked her, what has happened? There is lack of community leadership to get things to be done. And I am sick and tired of each and everybody seated here in Kampala complaining. Every day we are complaining. We want to produce some 70 and BSG and make them part of the equation. The mayor of Fort Portal town does not receive as much money as any other mayor of Mbarara or Lira. Have you been to Fort Portal town? It looks like a town in Europe or in Rwanda. It does not look like a typical town in Uganda filled with potholes, garbage, dust, and overgrown town lawns. Why has Asaba Ruyonga, is that his name, in Fort Portal, made a very clean city with flower gardens are pruned, the city lawns are mowed, the trees are planted, every single thing is working, the streets are even paved. How has Asaba Ruyonga done it in Fort Portal that the guy of Mbale, of Gulu, or Lira, Kabale, Mbarara, which are larger, Jinja, which are larger cities with better revenue than Fort Portal, why are they not functioning? And let me tell you, the day Ugandans stop depoliticizing and making these things partisan issues and say, what can each one of us do as responsible citizens, we will understand education. I'll give you another example.
Quickly.
If you look at secondary education, if you go to a private school in Uganda, and in that private school, you are paid for by government. Government pays per term, per student, 50,000 shillings. But if you're in a government school, government sends a capitation grant per student per year. I think it's about 38,000. So the difference between a private school and a government school is government pays an extra 12,000 in a private school. Listen, in a private school, we put on a primary school, on a secondary school. We pay for the land on which the school is going to be based. You pay 1.5 billion shillings buying the land. B, you put up buildings, you will spend another 1.5 billion. 3, you pay for teacher salaries. 4, you pay for everything, single thing. In a government pays the teachers, government buys the land, government puts up the buildings, government buys the desks, government buys textbooks, lab equipment, everything is done by government. Why, therefore, does the government of Uganda, does the government of Uganda continue to finance secondary education? It should sell private secondary schools to private investors so that it pays only 12,000 shillings. Andrew, do you understand what I mean?
I hear you. I mean, it's a bigger debate because we also want to look at facilitation of these schools. We also want to look at the curriculum, our curriculum, which is another concern that many people talk about.
But the government of Uganda cannot do everything.
That's why I'm saying we will probably have to extend this discussion. And that's it for Newsnight tonight.